The bouquet arrived mid-morning, a riot of crimson roses so vibrant they seemed to pulse with life. I watched from the kitchen window as Jade, my wife, accepted the delivery, her smile dazzling, almost childlike. It warmed me, that smile. It always had. We'd been together 10 years, married for 8. 10 years of shared laughter, quiet evenings, whispered promises. 10 years I thought I knew her. Surprise, she called, walking into the kitchen, the roses cradled in her arms. Their scent filled the room, thick and cloying. Too sweet. Who are they from? I asked, feigning ignorance, though the florist's van with its discreet logo had given me a sickening premonition. No card, she said, burying her nose in the blooms. But it must be from David. He said he had a surprise for me. David, my supposed best friend. My gut clenched. I'd known, suspected, for weeks. The late nights at the office, the hushed phone calls, the way she'd flinch when I touched her. It had all been adding up, forming a grim equation I desperately hoped was wrong. There's a note, Jade said, her voice a little breathless. She pulled a small, folded card from between 2 roses. I watched her read it, the smile faltering, then disappearing completely. The blood drained from her face, leaving her skin ashen. Her hand flew to her mouth, a small, choked gasp escaping her lips. Her knees buckled and she slumped onto a chair, the roses scattering across the floor, their vibrant beauty mocking the wreckage of our lives. The note, I had written it myself. It was short, brutal, and devastatingly accurate. Enjoy your last romantic gesture, Jade. Apartment 3B, The Meridian, 11 a.m. Come alone. Bring the roses. Eric. The Meridian was a discreet, upscale hotel downtown. Apartment 3B was not booked in my name. It was booked in David's. She looked at me, her eyes wide with terror, a silent plea forming on her lips. I said nothing, just watched as her world crumbled around her. At 10:45 a.m., I parked across the street from the Meridian. I saw Jade arrive a few minutes later, clutching the roses, her face a mask of dread. She hesitated at the entrance, then disappeared inside. I gave her 10 minutes. 10 minutes to face the truth. 10 minutes to realize the depth of her betrayal. Then, I walked into the hotel, the keycard burning a hole in my pocket. The scene that greeted me in 3B was exactly as I had envisioned it. David, shirtless, a smug smile plastered on his face, champagne chilling in an ice bucket. Jade, standing stiffly by the door, the roses drooping in her hand like a symbol of her wilting deceit. Eric. David's smile vanished, replaced by a look of pure, unadulterated panic. He scrambled for his pants, his eyes darting between Jade and me like a trapped animal. Jade just stood there, frozen, the roses slipping from her grasp, their petals scattering across the plush carpet like drops of blood. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I walked calmly to David, who was now frantically trying to pull on his shirt. I grabbed him by the collar, my knuckles white, and shoved him against the wall, the force of the impact knocking the air from his lungs. You, I said, my voice low and dangerous, are a pathetic excuse for a human being. I released him, disgusted. He stumbled back, his eyes wide with fear. Eric, I can explain. Explain. I laughed, a harsh, hollow sound. Explain how you betrayed my trust. Explain how you could look me in the eye, call me your friend, while sleeping with my wife. He cowered, shrinking under my gaze. He had no explanation. He had no defense. I turned to Jade. The look on her face was a mixture of shame, fear, and something else. Regret, perhaps. It didn't matter. You, I said, my voice trembling slightly, broke my heart. You shattered everything we built together. You lied to me, betrayed me, and for what? For this pathetic affair. Tears streamed down her face, silent, wrenching sobs shaking her body. She tried to speak, but no words came out. I didn't want to hear her apologies. I didn't want to hear her excuses. I just wanted it to be over. I walked to the window, overlooking the city. The world stretched out before me, indifferent to the wreckage of my life. I took a deep breath, the cool air filling my lungs. I want you both out of my life, I said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. I want you gone. I didn't watch them leave. I didn't need to. I heard the door click shut, the sound echoing the finality of it all. I stayed in the hotel room for a long time, the silence broken only by the occasional muffled sound of traffic from the street below. I didn't feel anger anymore. Just a profound emptiness. A hollowness where my heart used to be. The next few weeks were a blur. The divorce proceedings were swift, brutal, and emotionally draining. Jade tried to contact me, to apologize, to explain. I didn't respond. I couldn't. The wound was too deep, the betrayal too profound. David, I learned, had lost his job. His reputation, tarnished by the affair, had preceded him. He left town, disappearing into the anonymity of a city that didn't know his name, his shame. The pain lingered, a constant ache in my chest. But slowly, gradually, it began to subside. I started to rebuild my life, piece by piece. I focused on my work, on my friends, on rediscovering who I was outside of the wreckage of my marriage. One evening, months later, I was sitting in my new apartment, a small, but comfortable space I had filled with my own things, my own memories. The phone rang. It was a wrong number. A woman's voice, soft, hesitant. She apologized for the mistake, then paused. "Eric," she asked, her voice barely a whisper. It was Jade. My hand tightened around the phone. My heart pounded in my chest. "Yes," I said, my voice flat, emotionless. I just wanted to say. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice breaking. "I know it doesn't change anything, but I'm truly sorry for everything." There was a long silence. I listened to her breathing on the other end of the line, the sound fragile, tentative. "Goodbye, Jade," I said, and hung up the phone. The silence that followed was different this time. It wasn't the silence of emptiness, of despair. It was the silence of peace. The silence of a new beginning. The silence of finally letting go.